Biden has signed the TikTok ban, which is just a full-scale assault on freedom of expression. It's online censorship on steroids. And members of Congress in the debate over this bill made no secret about that, about their desire to impose censorship. And again, Michael Tracy did an incredible job in covering this debate, or lack thereof. But here's Senator Pete Ricketts.
Activists are taking over public spaces and making it impossible for
explaining why TikTok needs to be banned. And it takes them a while to get to China. I think he kind of lets the cat out of the bag here.
Look what's happening at our college campuses right now in this country. Pro-Hamas activists are taking over public spaces and making it impossible for campuses to operate. Jewish students are being told to leave campus because their universities can't guarantee their safety. There are a lot of other things wrong with this, including the failure to prioritize student safety over appeasement of terrorist sympathizers. But why is this happening? Well, let's look at where young people are getting their news. Nearly a third of adults 18 to 29, these young people in the U.S. are regularly getting their news exclusively from TikTok. Pro-Palestinian and pro-Hamas hashtags are generating 50 times the views on TikTok right now, despite the fact that polling shows Americans overwhelmingly support Israel over Hamas. These videos have more reach than the top 10 U.S. news websites combined. This is not coincidence. The Chinese Communist Party,
yeah, because those news websites are so compelling,
is doing this on purpose. They are pushing this racist agenda with the intention of undermining our democratic values. And if you look at what's happening at Columbia University and other campuses across the country right now, they're winning.
Okay, well, that's why we got to ban TikTok, because young people are not being dumbed down. They're not being sufficiently brainwashed. They're not mind slaves to AIPAC. So let's just ban an entire app. And then he kind of throws in China at the end and accuses China of some kind of conspiracy to promote Hamas in the United States. It couldn't be more obvious. Then you have that was a Republican. The Democrats are, of course, they're for censorship. I mean, they've been the party of censorship, fear, and war, even more than the Republican Party since the Trump era began. And here's Maria Cantwell. I love this presentation of Washington. This is a liberal Democrat from liberal Washington state. You know, her base is Seattle.
The Uyghur genocide, protecting a Muslim population. There are 1,970 more posts about that on Instagram than on TikTok. And my personal favorite, just because I had the privilege of meeting the Dalai Lama here in the Capitol, 5,520 more times the Dalai Lama is mentioned on Instagram than on TikTok. And pro-Ukraine, 750 times more hashtags on Instagram than on TikTok about Ukraine and support for Ukraine. I think that says it all in this debate today. Are we going to continue to allow people to control the information that is an export-controlled algorithm based on a Chinese source code?
Unbelievable. So because there are more hashtags on TikTok that with some words that counter our propaganda, we have to ban it. That's unbelievable. It's incredible. You know, it's incredible. But by the way, what really laid the foundation for so much of this, not entirely, but a big part of it was Russiagate. This freak out over some Russian social media posts that happened to contradict U.S. propaganda. Everybody accepting that and going along with it, and the need to fight so-called disinformation. That set the stage. It was inevitable that all this would happen.
By design.
Yeah. One of the biggest proponents of Russiagate, Mark Warner, and again, Michael Tracy put out this clip where Mark Warner says, okay, I know young people, I know you're upset. I know you're upset at us banning a really popular app, but you don't see the intelligence that we see. Okay. Yeah,
just like he did during Russiagate.
Exactly.
Over the Facebook ads and everything.
Exactly.
Like he's seeing the intelligence. He was the ranking chair of the intelligence committee who ran through
Yeah.
along with Richard Burr. They just rammed through all of those insane hearings.
I wanted to show a clip.
Back to the Dalai Lama, though, just one
Yeah,
question.
okay, yeah.
How many of those Instagram posts where he was represented 5,160% more than on TikTok? How many of them showed him asking a young boy to suck his tongue? Because I think it wasn't all positive about the Dalai Lama.
Yeah. And of course, he is a former CIA asset, is he not? Or at least one of
He was a CIA, a definite open
Yeah.
CIA asset. The
Yeah.
Uyghur World Congress, run by
Yeah.
the CIA through the National Endowment for Democracy. She just saying that Instagram is more friendly to the CIA and its anti-China assets than TikTok is. So therefore, ban TikTok.
I wanted to play another clip because it's to show that this is not just members of Congress, it's also what we're getting on corporate TV. So this is Professor Scott Galloway on Morning Joe, basically blaming TikTok and China for the protests against genocide at U.S. colleges.
Zero for whiteness and how wealthy they are. And then what might sound paranoid doesn't mean I'm wrong. I think we are being manipulated, specifically youth, to their frame for the world is TikTok. And if you look at TikTok, there are 52 videos that are pro-Hamas or pro-Palestinian for every one served on Israel. I think that we are being manipulated. I think Americans are easier to fool than convinced they've been fooled. But if I were the CCP, I'd be doing exactly the same thing. I think social media is sowing division and polarization in our.
They duped us into opposing children being slaughtered at an industrial scale every day. How did they trick us into doing that? Why don't we love killing babies more? And then he went on. He did another interview with Morning Joe. I mean, it's horrible enough to be up in the morning. Why would anyone subject themselves to that garish freak? And it's Zbigniew Brzezinski's daughter.
Well, you did once, and they kicked you out, didn't they?
Yeah. But he actually said, well, we killed 3 million Japanese in response to Pearl Harbor. So like, why should we be upset about what Israel's doing? I mean, just pure sociopathic justification, not only for nuclear bombing, but for ethnic cleansing and slaughtering children. That's what you get on Morning Joe. And then they're wondering why people are tuning out from traditional corporate media and tuning into social media where young content creators are producing interesting material. They don't want they just don't want young people to have a voice. They're already voiceless in our political system, and now they just want to shut them down even further. But they'll find a way. That's what this is all about. And so, we're bringing the young people on campus, on TikTok. They're bringing it all back home. They're bringing all those wars back home, and they're not going to be stopped. It's going to be a long, hot summer for Biden. And we'll just close with some words of wisdom from Joe Biden about what's to come. Making sure I have the volume up here.
Imagine what we can do next. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years.
He actually read the pause from the teleprompter.
Like he's in the Anchorman. Well, I hadn't seen that clip.
It's like Jeb Bush saying, please clap. That was like iconic, 4 more years, pause.
Pause.
That's what we're living through.
Oh, man.